Uh, Hello, I'll try again. My fellow sailors behind the scenes just hinted me that there was a lack of sound, so now you can all hear me. Brilliant.
Hello, I'll try again.
And so, my name is Simonas Leleiva. Welcome to the second webinar of Sailfish OS. Sorry about the delay, technical glitches. Guys in Tampere yesterday had a nice first webinar going on. Me, myself, I work from home. This is actually my living room. And just set up this improvised webinar studio. And myself, not being in Finland, I am in UK, originally from Lithuania. And we'll be presenting you localization aspects of Sailfish OS. The tool that you can contribute translations. And that's we're really happy to having rolled it out to the community because, as you know, localization is not an exact science, and finding a fine line between government or linguists' terms of that they come up with IT terms for your native languages, and also translation services, the professional translation services. Only have one opinion, and then the other side of the coin is you users and developers using the slang terms to talk about in your native language, most of them Englishized terms. And we thought, why wouldn't this, we're striving as well as other parts of Sailfish to make people-powered, community-driven, and this is where you come in. For translations, now you've used to report quite in a long process way the inconsistencies of our translations in the past, and we used to address them after reading your remarks in together.jolla.com, which we thought, well, why can't we just make it easier and more people can contribute, and maybe we can extend it even to new languages. And as well as not only fixing the errors that you spot in the release, an existing release, but also why wouldn't you be able to translate new strings that are about to just land in the upcoming release? There's loads of things now given onto your hands. We're happy to look after you and guide you through and correct you, accept your suggestions and discuss, and you are able to connect with your fellow compatriots from your countries and your language-speaking people that can come up with the greatest translations. The tool that we use is Pootle, and that's why this webinar is called like that. So I'm going to guide you through the tool itself and also about the documentation, how we report things. Feel free to ask questions. I've got fellow sailors behind the scenes in Tampere looking after me as well. And so Juhani Lasila, like yesterday, communications manager, our program manager Vesa, and also Pami Ketolainen, our IT and services developer, also looking after the building blocks of localization in the company of all of these programs that compose. So a bit of let's see how actually the translation takes place. It starts from obviously from a design, from a feature that, for example, needs to be implemented. Then it boils down to actual developer writing the code. And surely they need to display some strings in the code to inform users, so they just scribble most of the time very accurate descriptions, but still we call them engineering English, because they could contain some slang, or just maybe they forgot a full stop at the end of the sentence. These things can happen. They concentrate on their developing work, and this is where the rest of us come in, those who like languages. That string, then it has compiled, gone through the building packages and all the usual stuff, and then some clever mechanism extracts those strings and puts them in the tool for further localization. And here they are. Let's have a look at the tool itself. is really... Okay. The Pootle looks like this. If you ever get lost, there's always the instruction bit here to take you to our wiki page. And you can see the two main pillars of Pootle, languages and projects. So languages, the ones which are mostly green, are nearly fully translated, and they are the official ones. For as long as the previous release is concerned, surely they are 100% translated. But you can see it now. It has changed a little bit. It's only 97% complete because today we have released new strings into this tool. So by saying that, release new strings, which means we have internal copy of Pootle where all the new strings land from developers, and then we synchronize and put those strings here for you to see. Let's say a string could be called conference calling. And that's a new string, and that's a bit of a teaser of what's coming in a new release. And the next one, let's try and translate it. Okay. So we shall translate it into, let's say, Finnish language. I don't speak Finnish, but I'll just pretend I do. So once you've entered there, you can see the projects. That's the other pillar of Pootle, and the project is a wide concept, but in this case they're mainly apps or packages, because app might be the visual one, the obvious one, like Jolla messages. But there are also some middleware packages where strings can come out from underneath the UI from the middleware layer, depending on the information type. And we've put all the projects here. This column here, so if you like Finnish language, you speak it, and you would like to contribute a translation, just scroll quickly to see the overview. We can see there are a few suggestions here. The other column shows what new strings just came in. And let's say if we look at the Jolla phone app, there are 6 new words. We click on that bit and it takes us straight to, here's the teaser, straight to the translation page. It's the shortest way, shortest path to start translating right off the bat and avoid any other screens of Pootle, which some of them might get confusing. Perhaps the sailors who are behind the scenes, I have a secret communication channel with them, could tell me how to translate conference call. I'm going to put it here. In the meantime, I'll introduce you to the UI, to the web interface of this tool. So, as you can see, Engineering English is the one that most of the developers speak. And it's really when you don't want to look for those terms, even proper terms in English or the language styles, you would just use this language. So that's the basic one that comes in. The next one is what has already been provided by us as a reference translation. So that is the United Kingdom, the British English one. In this case, they are not differing at all. But when they do differ, you should always refer to this one. And Engineering English should serve you only as a context or more explanatory thing. If you're a developer, you might infer a bit more what's going on there. But it should be informative enough to the end user from the English United Kingdom context. If that is not enough, usually we have, if it's really complicated, we have examples of more contextual information, a comment over here that comes from directly from source code. then, okay. Just ask my colleagues how to translate this string. Once you've provided a translation here, you can always suggest it, but that depends on your role of in this tool, because as a basic one, you'll just be able to suggest translations and somebody will need to approve them. Later on, if you really contribute a lot and we see that you're a language expert, and we would approach you and ask, would you like to become a coordinator of this language? In that case, you might be able to accept suggestions suggested by others and submit a suggestion immediately without need of further approval. So this is how our community around translations will grow, by being able to put more people in charge, and it's just spreading the workload. And here I have a tip from about how to translate this conference call in Finnish. Let me suggest that, and it will become as a suggestion. What happened now, the Pootle tool is really rapid. It really immediately takes you to another string, but this string is actually identical. It's just used in another place of the code. But if we go back, we can see that I have just suggested this, and I can revoke it if I have another opinion, or even if I have another version or a synonym which I think both fit, I can suggest even both. But we'll leave it as that, and once our Finnish language coordinator looks at this, he can approve it, or he can correct it and introduce his own corrected version. So here we go. This is how we navigate. These are all new strings, and that happens in between releases. We have a very definite process of how so developers are not under pressure to translate, and then once they have their deadline, they'll just move on to new other things for the release after next. That's where we come in. That's the moment where we start to translate, and then when everything is translated, the release can be rolled out. We've also created a wiki article in our Sailfish OS wiki. But like I said, whenever you need that, there's a link from the tool itself to translation instructions. You can also find it via Sailfish OS main Wikipedia, the wiki of Sailfish, and here you click on contribute to translations, amongst many other things you can do to Sailfish OS. So here we are, and that explains how to log in, also explains how we're going to work together and communicate. All the official announcements are tagged as official announcement in together.jolla.com. So I suggest highly to subscribe to those, not to miss any official announcements from us, and you can subscribe if you're interested only in translations to the translate tag. There'll be also official and unofficial discussions and things that needed to be said to everybody will be tagged as translate. If you haven't, let's say, most cases, you think that this term used throughout the whole OS, a particular term in your language, is translated incorrectly, and it's actually it's used everywhere, and you just want to sort of jump in and change and find and replace everywhere in the system and then run away. Please don't do that, because that's a mass change, really massive change. And let's just take one example, that if you translate it with a longer word, it might not fit anymore into the text box, right? And it will be really hard to catch out all of these things if you translate it in all the system and we've accepted it. So we usually don't accept that. That's a big change, not just a little typo. So we suggest people to create a together.jolla.com post, tag it with translate, tag also if they want with the name of your language, and start a discussion. And you can get votes, and if most people agree and really voice their opinion and justify it, then we can accept this mass change. Or if you simply don't know how to translate one or the other sentence, you want the help from your compatriots, there you go. Use together.jolla.com. And like I said, this whole ability to translate by many people it will evolve over time, because if something's not quite perfect landed in one release, the quality of translation will improve over next releases, and you'll all be able to compose a nicely speaking operating system. Who else is the best translator if not you yourself who use it? Here is the tone of voice and the way the system speaks to you, and once you read all through these instructions, they are also about the style, and all these guidelines are written out. So translating is not just getting the correct terms, it's also correcting the right standpoint and talking to the user. Terminology I've already mentioned, that if you have a suggestion to change the whole term throughout many strings, do let us know, do let everyone else know. I'll get back to that later. So the translation tool already introduced. Plurals, you might think it, to make the language really beautiful, you can to the way it speaks in the OS, it's the Pootle and Qt together have the ability to handle plural forms, and instead of seeing you have one new messages or one new message bracket s bracket, that's not really nice. So if there's a possibility to actually, depending on the number, to write out the plural form of the word, that's how it works. And this is where you can harness that in your language as well. If there's a plural form, it will have two translation fields, and depending on the number in it, if it's bigger, greater than 1, it will be plural form in English. It's not that easy in other languages. There is, depending if the number is between 10 and 19, the declination of the words that describe that object will differ. So there might be more than 2 plural forms. So here it explains those things, and surely knowing your own language, you'll see what I mean once you get your hands dirty there. And here we've got the translation round schedule, and it's usually taking 2 weeks. But like I said, there could be some deviations from it depending on various factors. We try to stick to that schedule, and that's basically what just happened today, 1 day earlier, let's say. All of the strings have been translated to United Kingdom, to English language, and have landed in the tool. So with that, you can check all the new strings and get the idea what's coming next release. And that's mainly it about the official languages. Now, things don't end here. We have plans, and we already started implementing them, to embrace new languages, and that will be driven only by you, mainly by you, but it's all enough that you've got the coordinator and you've got the other helpers to translate, and you've got the working translation, so to say, factory. Going back to together.jolla.com, there's a post the elections of community language and linguists, so to say, where you can suggest a language that you want to see Sailfish in. We've got here a summary of them. We've got also the status of them, whether they've been added already. And you can click on any of them and we'll take you to the corresponding togethertogether.com post where you'll be able to vote for it. And we'll surely know what the demand is biggest for. Dutch is on the first place at the moment, Hungarian goes second, and we got this lovely system to just have your voice heard if you want to help. But that's not really quite enough, because since there are new languages, we're looking for people who can take up more responsibility and be able to look after other people's translations, accept them or reject them, consult them. And that would also be where you come in and say, I'm here and I would like to coordinate that language. I really want it to be in, and actually, if you do that, that language will be added. So as you translate the new languages, we work on the back end, where there's a complex process involved where we'll be able to describe a routine of how you'll be able to test them. Because translating is not enough. It's nice to have them on your device and see if the translation looks nice there, or just see what have you missed in case you want to translate the most frequently showing strings. Let's say you don't have time to translate all thousands of them. So we are working on that at the moment, and in the meantime you can be busy translating. And there is this aspect of transifex where quite a few translations, unofficial ones, were done by community in the past, and it's really possible to import them all into the tool. However, there's another bit that's missing is exactly the completion of the tryout part, where you'll be able to, currently we're thinking, it's not set in stone yet, to be able to download the translation pack from the Jolla store. It will actually be updated also kind of weekly, because we'll take snapshots of that. So you'll be able to have those and really not needing any other services to have community languages. But at the moment, it's good still to, for the time being, to stick with transifex. If had you started there already in the past, and whoever is in charge knows the process of producing an RPM translation pack there, and so that doesn't change. That has been for quite a few months, if not years already. This process has been polished by you guys, and we're just slowly making it easier and getting it all up and running through official platform. I'm waiting for that and working on that myself, and definitely looking forward to it as much as you do. So that brings me to the end of my webinar presentation, but the time is now for questions and answers, so let's see. Okay, the question was from there, is it really necessary to have the conference call or any other translation twice? That's a good point. These translations might repeat themselves, especially those, let's say, the short ones, like yes, or okay, or skip. and I do meet them repeating themselves. However, they have different IDs, so they come from different program points. They come from different projects and different code lines, and they use in different contexts. There should be some common ones, I believe, that might be even offered by Qt. But we'll definitely look into if there's a possibility to reduce them. Perhaps some of them, depending on the context, in English might sound completely the same. I'm not talking about this case. But in other languages it might be slightly different in case the context demands that. Okay. Any more questions? How do you see the context? Okay. Let me just open one or another string. Random one. Okay. So here, for example, there's a little comment in case there's a clarification that's needed. You look out for that thing because that's written in human language. First and foremost, can we click to start the contacts import wizard? Well, that's a very straightforward comment, that one is. But it just says that it's actually a button, and it gives you more idea where in the UI it is, and afterwards you can actually, if you translate all projects, you don't even know which app it is. So then you look into the ID. The context here is more like more developer, concerning more developers than end users, this particular ID. But then you can also look here, and that shows you that's the Jolla Contacts app. So you know that you're talking about the input wizard of the contacts. If there's really something obscure, the comment here will be much more clear. Also as well, you might, especially when new strings are concerned, you haven't even seen the UI yet, might be really difficult for you. Don't hesitate to simply post together@jolla.com with the tag translate, saying this context is a bit blurry, could you please give more information, and we will give you that in here. Or also there's going to be another language, meta language, called content instructions that will explain even further, which we can anytime modify for clearance purposes. Well, there you go, there's another one. A bit more clearer. It determines the direction in which sync operations will be performed, two-way upload only or download only. So for a certain language you might be using another word than just a straight translation of the word direction in the other settings. Okay. And there you go. there's a full context information, sync mode. Engineering English and UK is the same, but we've got an explanation of what is this insertion line, the argument insertion here, and that %1 will be the device name that will appear in the UI. So these content instructions, the meta language and English, engineering English, they are always there unless you remove them. Don't remove them. Once you log into the tool the first time, they will always be there. To add more languages, let's say there are similar languages, really from the same language family and barely any words, like really have the similar use, spelling and meaning altogether. So you can add English United States, for example. So that will accomplish they're very similar languages indeed. You can see both suggestions from both of them. Or for more clarity, you can add as many languages as you want. You can also add as many languages as you know. So you can see how it's been translated in other languages that you speak, and perhaps if that's similar to your one. You can infer even more context and more ideas how to translate. Yeah, for example. That's an international word. Yes, the Polish and Russian have a word in common, which is new. So just a simple example. Let's see further questions that you have. Must the translated word have the same number of letters than the original English word? No, not at all. Similar number perhaps, but it depends again on the place. Long explanations, descriptions, the UI elements which have loads of text, loads of few 2-3 sentences. Legal text have paragraphs. They all usually have a UI element, a text box, which accommodates and stretches to the size of the text. There's a scrolling ability. None of the text will get cut off. That's fine, don't worry. Short strings and labels, if you write them out in too long fashion, might get clipped. And then you need to start to abbreviate. Abbreviation and any other bits and pieces, let's say the German language here, you can click to abbreviations and or contractions as well. No, that's not here, I believe that's in Finnish language. There you go. You contract words, you make them shorter in the Finnish example. Yet again, as soon as you'll be able to verify and validate the language if it fits, you'll be able to fix it afterwards. But like I say, Qt is very flexible. We'll also introduce hyphenation in the future, where a nice hyphen blank space, non-visible hyphen, soft hyphen will be inserted. So that's really useful, because especially the soft hyphen, for those who don't know, it's a dash to hyphenate words to a new line, but it does not appear if the word is not split to another line. It means there's enough width in the device, and that's especially when we have different screens of devices. We have tablet, and then we have a small Jolla, the big Jolla, and other devices as well. Different screen sizes, and that's where it will come really useful, really handy, because you don't want to abbreviate something which will look complete on the big screen. So this is where you, if UI allows, if you can split in 2 lines, this is where you put the soft hyphen. That's not available now, but we're looking into that. It will split in much more small screens, it'll be 2 lines, so that's really neat. Okay. The tool proposes each existing string used in the system, regardless of the context, therefore the same string may appear multiple times. Having the list order of ranks. Okay, yes. Yes, indeed, that might be a problem, definitely when you translate to a new language that has not been translated in the past. There's loads of strings to go through, and can get frustrating if the strings repeat themselves. But I believe Pootle can't really sort them alphabetically for you, unfortunately. Pootle sorts by project. So you go from one project by project, and then if you translate the contacts app from scratch, then well, you're in the people app, contacts app context. So but there's one way of doing that. If you see a term that repeats itself, let me show you quickly. Let's say email. You mentioned email. So if I go to and I type email in the search box of the Finnish language, right here, it's going to show, I wonder, no, it's a global search. Okay, so you scroll down to your language. It's a nice search function if you need to find anything quickly. And here the Finnish starts. It's a bit cumbersome, but you can see all the email will be here, and so on. There's quite a few email references. And if you do in a new language, you'll be able to get straight to the term email. You'll have to open each of them separately into many tabs, so I hope your browser can cope, but that's one way of doing it. Okay. So. The maximum number of characters, well, that's not really available as such, because even the English word can be really short, but we had left a lot of space just because the screen is wide. So, and also depends if you put, they're not fixed length strings. If you put lots of letter I, you can put hundreds, and you can put only so many, 20 occurrences of letter W. So, okay. So. I believe we have no more questions this time. Maybe I forgot something, and I may have. Yeah, there's one more question. I'll leave that later. Now we can see around 20 languages listed in this translation tool. How do you plan to add other languages? So, adding new languages, mostly the ones that you want, will be added once you have stepped forward and said, I want to coordinate them. If they don't have transifex translation in the past, if they're completely untranslated, maybe just a few strings, I'm going to add them immediately once it has a coordinator volunteered. And that has happened already with Lithuanian, Estonian, Serbian, and Tatar. That would be community-driven languages. And those who have transifex already, so there's no sense to really reinvent the bicycle, they need to wait until our provision for the preview tool, the language pack is ready, and you can download strings after you started translating them to your device, try them out. So that's not in place yet. And so I'm reluctant to add those languages because they can continue their life in transifex for now, but working on that. Now you've touched the bit about brand new languages. If the language hasn't been translated, my biggest advice is first and foremost translate the terminology project. It's a special project. It's the only one where you are allowed to vote. This one here. So yeah, Turkish language is entered as well. And we got somebody's done a good job, very good job, this fellow here, Midas, in translating the terms, because I've showed you the context situation, the how to get the context and how to help you translate. This UI also shows the terminology, and that's actually the thing in itself here. But everywhere else where the string will contain the word ambience, there will be a little terminology bit like this, and you'll know immediately how to translate, because the vocabulary has been already said by your fellow friends of your countries and languages that you speak. As I might suggest one. And you can see here, this is the only project, the special terminology project, where you can vote. So if you favorite this one, if you vote for this suggestion, the biggest number one wins. And that's really cool, because you're not allowed to vote on other translations, because that's very subjective, because simply the one which has most votes doesn't necessarily mean it's correct. For the terms, it's more definite, just one word most of the time. You can also explain, if you want, if it's a verb or things like this, and they all will appear for you as a helper when you do the real job translating. So finish with translation, finish the vocabulary, and then start proper translating, and you'll have consistent terms, and different people coming at different points in time will not start to invent new words, and we'll see all what has been agreed. So about the apps projects outside the Jolla store and outside the OS, what about translating those? That's we haven't looked into that yet, of how to add those projects, because they would then need a bit of different type of handling. Mostly, I guess. Well, currently it's all been the way the author of the app of another project has decided to either transfix or other translation tools they have created there. Surely that would be, I guess, once we have the working system of the internal languages, community languages, and internal projects, we would extend this to third-party projects, but that will be the next milestone. Okay, so that's 7 o'clock, even though I started late. And give it another half a minute for more questions. Otherwise, we can wrap it up and enjoy the rest of our evenings. I thank you all, and we'll see you during other webinars. Please send suggestions of what next webinar you'd like to see to community@jolla.com. Thanks for your questions, and we'll see each other back busy translating and helping each other. Thanks. Over and out.